What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Next Gen Pod. It's your host, Ani Mana, and with me is Jamie Shaw and Joe Tipton of Rivals. Guys, how you feeling? How was your holidays? How was Thanksgiving?
It was good, man.
Thanks, Joe.
Was it players there in Vegas for a few days? I didn't go to any high school tournaments when I got back. Decided to try to be as good of a family man as possible. No disrespect to those that went out. I know you guys are grinders, but I just kind of hung back, relaxed a little bit, and now hitting the ground running.
Yeah, Jamie, how was
Yeah,
yours?
Thanksgiving was great. Never long enough, but got to at least have a meal with the family. Cold and rainy day here in the Carolinas right now, and prepping for this incredible day of basketball we have tonight. Joe and I went for probably 2 hours yesterday talking about the rundown of games that we have today and all the stuff, all the hype happening around all that stuff. So there's a lot of excitement around today's game of basketball. But first, I get to talk to your two lovely faces and have some great discussion and everything on basketball. So good day.
Yeah, Joe, I'm kind of jealous that you were able to, spend the time this past weekend, like being with family. I was in the basketball court. Jamie, we were in the basketball court. I mean, we love our jobs always, but spending that time with family, we realize how important and how little we really have with them sometimes, just because we get consumed with our work. So, shout out to you. I'm a little jealous of that. Uh, But speaking of, I was in the basketball court. It was Thanksgiving Hoop Fest. It happens every year in Duncanville Fieldhouse. This is year 20. Some Glenn Smith runs it, and there's some high level players, high level games. Speaking of, like the 227, CJ Rosser, a Southeastern Prep. They play Dynamic Prep, who Dynamic has Marcus Spears. It was a high level affair. Dynamic Prep ends up winning, but CJ Rosser really kind of he really stood out. Had 25 points, 25, 26 points, 6'9", really shoots the basketball, showed incredible touch, attack closeouts, got to his mid-range pull. Jamie, and I want to get your take on this. I think the toughness part or playing through contact is always been an area of improvement for him. Saw that more, saw him just like getting in there, being a little gritty, especially getting rebounds through contact, blocking shots, and kind of fight through contact. But when you look at someone like him who he was really shooting the ball at a high level, just shooting over guys with confidence. It just looked apart. And I know when in your rankings, you look at like NBA translation, like the highest level of translation, it looked the part. Yes, I mean, at Thanksgiving Hoop Fest, I was super impressed. And Marcus Spears is someone that plays with a super high motor. His MO is his toughness and his motor, just making really high level like rebounds, finishes. Had 11 points and 10 rebounds, and it was like a quiet 11 and 10. You had Duke, you had Kentucky, you had Louisville. You had in Texas. They were there to watch those guys. High level schools, and these are high level players that are 5-star guys. So Jamie, speaking again, going back to CJ with the his areas of growth that I saw there, like why is he ranked so high on Rivals right now?
Well, you're looking at CJ Rosser. He's somebody I've known. He's from my area, so he's somebody I've known for a while, been able to watch. But he's always somebody he's going to be good. CJ Rosser is going to be a good player. He checks a lot of the boxes and tools. Now it seems that he's turning that corner into becoming a dude. To be able to go for 25 points against Marcus Spears, who's one of the best defensive players, not even in the class, but possibly in high school basketball. The electricity he brings on the defensive floor and ability to slide and move and get in passing lanes, the aggression that he brings, to be able to go for 25 against him is saying something. CJ 6'9". He's always been able to shoot the basketball, beautiful, pure form, but now he's really getting into the soft spots of the defense, moving off the ball well, getting into the middle of the lanes, being able to pull up jump shot there, 2-3 dribble pull-ups, also really getting into the full nature of becoming a scoring guy in the 6'9", 6'10" range. He's a fluid athlete. His mom played at Virginia Tech. There might be some growth still there. I think she's in the 6'3", 6'4" range as well as so there might be some growth still there to be had. The upside remains high, but what he is now with Bruce Branch going into 2026, he is firmly in that conversation for number one player overall in the class because, just like you said, Ani, the boxes he checks at the highest level of the game going toward, what he has.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think CJ just you can't teach like 6'9" with touch like that. And then, like I said, when the motor and the toughness comes along, and I think there's improvements there. And I think he's fairly young to just a high level basketball environment. I mean, I think he just really kind of getting used to things, and I think his upside is incredible. Joe, there was like CJ Rosser, Marcus Spears, and I want like blue blood fans and just in these Power Four program fans to understand. Like, I know the 227s, I know don't have a signing day yet, but these are people that your schools are recruiting. Speaking of like Marcus Spears and CJ and Beckham Black was in game and he's incredible, and I'll talk more about him. Like, Joe, can you kind of break down a little bit what you're hearing on them recruitment wise so far?
Yeah, with CJ Rosser specifically, obviously he's a North Carolina kid, so I don't think he has a Duke offer yet. If he keeps playing as well as he has been, I don't think that's. I think that is probably coming relatively soon. Kentucky's already offered him. North Carolina's already offered him. Kansas, Louisville. He's going to have his who's who. He's going to be arguably maybe the highest recruited player in this class, or at least one of the most sought after players in this class. And then, of course, Beckham Black, his teammate at Southeastern Prep, CJ's teammate, his big brother, Anthony Black, obviously played for Eric Musselman at Arkansas. And now Arkansas's John Calipari has offered him, and obviously USC's going after him. A lot of these guys, we're talking about some of the top players in the 2027 class. Their recruitment is still relatively new. And, I think fans have to understand that these players are in season. The colleges that are recruiting them are also in season. So it's not like, some assistants are swinging by, checking them out, keeping tabs on them, but their recruitment really won't heat up until probably the AAU season. I think y'all would agree. Right around that time when they'll start kind of taking visits, and then we'll start to get a glimpse. But I expect all of these guys, even Marcus Spears Jr., to get those, blue blood, high level, highest level of recruitment.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, to talk about with Marcus Spears. His dad and mom both went to LSU. Mom played basketball there, was a top 5 pick in the WNBA draft. Dad, obviously Marcus Spears Sr., ESPN analyst now, played football there, NFL player and everything, too. But his sister's also on the volleyball team at Texas right now as well. So you have to look at those two schools as schools. There's a lot of familiarity with Marcus there as well. And as Joe mentioned with CJ, he's from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, about 45 minutes to an hour away from the Triangle, and he's already been on campus at UNC and Duke.
Yeah, and I think Marcus Spears just finished completing an unofficial at LSU. So to your point with the dad, played football there, stuff like that. You got to look at schools like that for Marcus. And then, as we all know, Duke's going to be coming at CJ at some point. It just is the inevitable, right? But Beckham Black, and I just want to touch on this, and then we'll get into the next topic. I think he's really made like next steps in his game. His athleticism really popped out. Like, he was making plays above the rim in traffic. And what's even impressive is like, it doesn't even need a running start. Like, he's like doing Euro steps and exploding above the rim, right? He's getting rebounds and getting above the rim, stuff like that. And the jumper is is improved as well. I think he's somebody that like you said, the basketball bloodlines are there, right? Just with the family and with Anthony, playing in the NBA and actually having a successful, third year. Beckham's kind of, I see that he's starting to turn the corner a little bit. I think for you guys, everybody like out there, fans, coaches, I think they kind of got people that were there kind of got to see it. I think he's really starting to turn the corner, and he's going to have a big season. Jamie, your evaluation on Beckham? I know you got to see him a decent amount during the summer. What was your thoughts on him, and where do you feel like he could potentially trend to?
Yeah, man. So just looking at Beckham, he knows how to run a team. He's the consummate point guard. When you look at what he brings, he's not a super dynamic scorer, even though he can score the basketball, but in a not one-to-one way, there's some similarities. There's some archetypal stuff there of like a Tyus Jones type of player, as to where he's somebody who's just able to run a team, really elevate the floor of his team, get everybody involved. He's an unbelievable passer, quick processor, great in the pick and roll. and can really pick apart a defense when it comes to his pace and his court vision, as opposed to breaking down a defense, getting downhill to the basket and scoring, which he can do as well. But he's really able to break down a defense when it comes to getting into the teeth of the defense and spraying the ball, getting his teammates involved, elevating the floor there. He's an old school throwback type of lead guard who really knows how to run a team with a high IQ and a competitive nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a big thing with him. He knows how to run a team at a high level. He knows how to make others around him better. And he was still able to do that while still trying to show some of his scoring chops. Like you said, like he's not someone that's going to drop 30, but he's going to get like 15 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. And then if you have like a manager there, tracking like deflections or the hockey assists and stuff like that, he's someone that's going to be high on that as well. But going to this next topic, I really want to these signing day superlatives, these team signings, these schools that have signed these high level guys. We'll start with you, Joe. Right now on Rivals, we have Duke has the number one signing. Is number one in the rankings on the signing on the commits. I'm sorry, guys. Talk about the team that the school that's been most impressive during the signing day, and also give the ones that you feel like they got freshmen that can impact immediately.
Yeah, I think my favorite class, and they're not the highest ranked. I think that we have them 6th overall, is Michigan State's class. They're bringing in a 4-man class, which nowadays is a large class. I'm scrolling through. Like I'm down to the top 20. I'm not seeing really many other teams that brought in 4 other freshmen. It feels pretty rare now. Kansas did it. Maryland's doing it. But overall, you're seeing more 2 and 3 high school signing classes. But what Michigan State has done, getting a guy like Ethan Taylor, the number 22nd ranked player in the class, Josiah Jervis, the number 23 ranked player, both according to Rivals, and then even a guy like Carlos Medlock, a local kid who was kind of really under the radar. They offered him, and they might have even got him committed before he was even like ranked as a 4-star. Now he's in kind of that top 75-ish range. Beat out Michigan for him, and then last but not least, Julius Avent. So just really impressed with what Izzo has been able to do, and also just impressed with his energy that he still has at his age, and he's still at the top of his game. Like he is still in his prime and doing what he's been able to do on the recruiting trail, and even not even steering away from the transfer portal as well. Those old school coaches typically don't like to really dabble in it. Some do, some don't. He's given some pushback to his thoughts on NIL, the G League players. Of course, we've all seen the headlines, but overall, really impressed with what Michigan State has done. And on you touched on Duke. I mean, when are they not going to have a top class? Like Bryson Howard and Cam Williams are kind of their 2 headliners, with a developmental piece, and Maxime Meyer as well, the 7-foot big man originally from Canada. But outside of that, and I know this isn't the direction we were going to go with it, Kentucky is nowhere to be found. They don't have a single commitment in this 26 class. When was the last time Kentucky didn't have a commitment after signing day was up? Now, I know this is only Mark Pope's second year recruiting high school kids, but last year, obviously, he inked signatures from Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno, both within that 25 to 30 rankings range. And then don't forget they assigned to Caden Lewis, who got out of his letter late. Obviously, Kentucky's owned some talented players, but it would be a shock to see them not land a 5-star level guy. But definitely think it's interesting nonetheless that they don't have a single commitment in this 2026 class.
Joe, I'm 100% with you on the Michigan State thing, man. That was the team that I had circled exactly when we put out this favorite class, best class, whatever it was. And the thing about it is, Tom Izzo won battles. Like he went head to head for Josiah Jervis. He went head to head for Ethan Taylor, and he won. He came out the other side and played the game and won with relationships. I think this class is awesome. CJ Medlock is going to be somebody I highly expect to hear a lot of throughout his college career. And these other guys as well. Avent, Jervis, Taylor, they're all going to be factors early on and throughout the course of their career. But this Michigan State class was highly impressive. I 100% agree with you what they were able to put together for this 2026 cycle.
And something more impressive to me, and we've seen other teams do this, this isn't only specific to Michigan State, is that probably the majority of these players, if not at least some of them at Michigan State's class, they took a good bit less money to go to Michigan State over some of their other schools. A lot of the time, it's like what we would do, or most people in the world would do with job offers. You're going to examine your highest job offers, but Michigan State was able to get some of these guys at a little bit of a discount. They still paid, whatever you want to call it, market value for them. They're still, I mean, these guys aren't going to be hurting for money, that's for sure. But at the same time, I always admire it when players are willing to take less because they believe in, what Izzo has done and what he's continued to do.
And that's an interesting point too, Joe. I think that this is a whole nother topic on a whole nother conversation. But in the recruiting landscape, so many people are talking about these days things are transactional. Relationships went out. There's still something to be said about building, growing, and forming relationships in
100%.
this day and age of recruiting.
Yeah, I still think relationships, growing relationships and maintain them it's definitely still important here. Because like you said, Joe mentioned that these guys probably took less money compared to what other people offered to go to Michigan State, and I think that's where the relationship piece comes into play. That's where, okay, we have confidence that he's going to get the best version out of me, and he actually is like, he has a plan for me, and and he's gotten to just know me more as a person. I think, yes, is it more transactional than it has been in the past? For sure, but I still think the relationship component is so important. And you hear from players, especially when they're in college or after they commit, they say, "Hey, listen, I feel more comfortable playing for this coach. I feel comfortable because this staff, they hit me up. They got to really know me. They had a plan. It made sense. The basketball made sense. The relationship made sense." So I still think the relationship component is still important because, again, not having to pay more than others to get a player is saving you money. and especially when you go into the portal and you go in the spring and you have to get some guys in portal, that money is going to make a difference. Jamie, you mentioned that Michigan State was one group that was like this, like one of your favorite signing classes. Is there another school that you really liked who they signed? You really like the class that they're about to bring in?
Yeah, for sure. So I was looking at kind of underrated classes, guys that might not have the rankings up there high, but could really, really kind of be pivotal classes when it comes to the trajectory of the programs moving forward. Two programs I landed on was Oklahoma State and Wake Forest. I want to talk about Wake Forest here. They were able to get the Placide twins, Gallagher and Gavin, and then as well as Quentin Coleman. When you come to Gallagher and Gavin, what you have, Gavin, a 6'10", 6'11" ball in hand guy who's able to create advantages with the ball in his hand and is a good rebounder. Gallagher is a 3-and-D type of 6'9" or so forward. You have a lot of upside trajectory as to what you have with those guys and the versatility they bring to the ACC, what they'll bring to Steve Forbes. There'll be a lot of creativity he's able to have with those two guys on the floor. Then Quentin Coleman's a late blooming scoring guard, a big-time shooter who had a huge summer this year and is continuing to grow into what he is as a player. The upside is very high for him as a shooter, as a 6'3", 6'4" guy with long arms who's able to really knock down shots at multiple levels, get to his spots within 1 and 2 dribbles and provide pull gravity as a player. So I think what Steve Forbes was able to do, along with Steve Lutz at Oklahoma State, bringing in especially Latrell Allman, but also adding Parker Robinson and then Jalen Montanati, the shooting that will go along with the physicality of what Latrell is. But I think what Steve Forbes is able to do with this Wake Forest class, I know I'm jumping all over the place here, I think it's going to be very intriguing and building as to what could kind of turn the corner for Wake Forest moving ahead in the Steve Forbes tenure.
Yeah, one that I want to mention is how impressive has Vanderbilt been on the recruiting for Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Like, they're ranked 17th in the AP poll. They're ranked 4th in the net. Now, I understand it is December 2nd as we record this, but they're also bringing in a high-level recruiting class. I mean, they have Ethan Mbako, Mackenzie Mbako's younger brother, who's now Mackenzie is now at A&M, started his career at Indiana, former McDonald's All-American. Ant Brown and Jackson Sheffield, all 4-star guys in the Rivals industry ranking. You combine all that together, Mark Byington's got a heck of a crew coming in and then a heck of a team kind of doing more with less in a lot of ways. They outperformed expectations last year, made the NCAA tournament. And then Vandy's on the rise. Look what they're doing in football. Look what they're doing in basketball. This is typically not a team that we're talking about, but they've done a heck of a job, and really cool to see what they've been able to do.
You know,
100%. Love the Vanderbilt class.
yeah, I'm with Jamie on that Wake Forest class, the Placide twins. You know, they're at Faith Family right now, and got to see them in the Pro 16s. Some like two twins that are able to they're versatile. What I like about them, they have a game offensively where more is more so interior, but they can like drive from the perimeter, get to the rim, they rebound. They have a certain level of toughness about them that can still be unlocked, but when they play with it, they impact the game on both ends. I definitely think like shooting will come along too, but they have a lot of upside. You talking about guys that are 6'9", 6'10", that can move like that, and I think defensively they can switch and guard. Like both guys can actually like guard on the perimeter, and I think that and rebounding will probably be the first things that will allow them to get on the floor. And then I think their offensive versatility in time when they know how like when to make these reads or how to make these passes or kind of how to get to their spots. I think they're impactful. They can be impactful guys, and I love Quentin Coleman. Like you mentioned it best, like a late blooming guard. He's someone that, at his size, he'll get like 10, 12 rebounds in a game. Like he has I love rebounding guards, by the way. Because I just know that they find a way to get on the court because they're tough and he gets to the rim, he can score. But guards that can rebound have a lot of value in college basketball and have a lot of value at the next levels too, as we see. So Quinn Coleman, I think someone that people need to get to know. I think he's someone that you can just kind of throw in there and he's just going to make an impact on the floor. And the Placide twins, I think, have a very high ceiling, and that as size that's going to be added to Wake Forest that's going to be helpful. But I really intrigued by what they can be down the road. I don't think they've really scratched the surface into their ceiling. For me, Jamie, I know you've been high on this kid for a long time, but for me, that's I just love this signing is Purdue with Jacob Weber. Got to really see him with Lalu this weekend. Got to see a couple games. I mean, that dude shoots the cover off the
That is
basket.
his favorite player in high school basketball.
Yeah, no,
Not actually, but he loves him.
Listen, when it took me about probably 3 possessions, and I don't think he even made any of the threes. And I said, I see why Jamie likes this kid. I was like, it didn't take long. I was like, oh yeah, like this. If For me, it's like, okay, defensively, he's gonna have to like figure it out and stuff like that, but he has to pack on some weight. But man, you don't teach size and shooting touch like he can. Like he can shoot it at any point. When that ball's in his hand, he can shoot it at any time. He can shoot it at any range. I mean, movement shooting, coming off pin down. I mean, it was I was super impressed with him. And so I think that's a really big pickup for Purdue. I'm a big fan of Jacob Weber. I see it, Jamie. Like I'm just gonna let you know, like kudos to you. I see it with him.
For me, he's the best shooter in the class for all the reasons you just mentioned. The threat of gravity that he brings, his ability to create open space. He's one of those off-platform shooters too. The adjustment midair, always balanced. The shoulders are always squared. The release is always consistent. Kind of reminiscent of a few years ago, Marshall Henderson at Ole Miss. Just the way that he shoots the ball and the ability to shoot it like that. Obviously not 1-to-1 as well. Jacob Weber, 6'6", and a very fluid athlete. But yeah, best shooter in the class for me. And there's some real electricity that he brings when it comes to his shooting ability.
100%. That one for me, I really enjoyed watching. Like I'm telling you, it took me 3 possessions. I don't even think he made the three. I'm like, oh, I get it. I see why he likes him.
Yeah.
And then I watched some more. Then they Lalu beat Faye family, and he made like the last 2 threes. Like they were down, and he made the last 2 threes, like really high difficulty threes. And it's just like, okay, Joe. Talk about James was talking about Wake Forest. He was talking about Oklahoma State. What's your thoughts on those classes as well?
Yeah, specifically like with Oklahoma State's class, it's also like similar to Vanderbilt. You don't really expect them to be able to recruit at that high of a level. They're not really known. Like obviously Oklahoma State had Cade Cunningham. His brother was on staff. It was kind of a given. But with what Lutz has been able to do this past cycle in this 2026 class getting a guy like Latrell Allman. I don't think many of us really expected for him. I mean, we had obviously heard the buzz that Oklahoma State was a heavy contender, but he's like a top 30 level ish kid. Like players like that typically don't go to Oklahoma State. And even like another guy like Jalen Montanati, whose stock has dipped a little bit, but still a really good player. He was at one time considered a top 25, top 30-ish level recruit as well. So really impressed with what they've been able to do at a program that a lot of us kind of tend to count out.
Yeah, 100%. 100. I relate to Latrell. One thing I've learned, just being around Lutz, like Lutz gets his type of guys. When you talk about like Latrell Allman, I can see how he plugs into the way he plays and the way his culture is and the way he is. Jalen Montanati likes shooting, and then Parker Robinson like shooting, the shooting, and just how they are, like their personalities fit Lutz. And I think that's why, you're seeing like him kind of getting Oklahoma State back up to speed, like getting them going a little bit. And I think he's going to be very successful there. And I think he's got guys that fit his culture. And I think that's why when we're looking at this freshman class, I mean, obviously in college basketball, yeah, they're doing great, but I do think these coaches did a really good job, and these assistants did a really, really good job getting guys that fit their head coach and fit what they're looking for. And now we're seeing them really just thrive in it. Obviously, they're talented, but as we all know, like picking the right fit is super important. One class that I'm interested in and see how it pans out, and I think this is just because of who they are, and we just need to see a larger sample size. It's just USC with the Rattler twins, right? Like I think if the Rattler twins with Adonis and Darius, if obviously we know availability was something that we didn't see much of during the summer, but those guys are super talented with their size, their shooting ability, their length, their ability to move. They move very well. If Musk can get the most out of them, we're looking at two guys that could play in the league. So I just feel like that one right there, especially when you got twins, you got guys that are 7 foot, can move and shoot like that. I think if that pans out, then I think Musselman really struck gold. What's y'all's thoughts on that?
100% agree. Love the Ramblers.
Yeah. Another class that I'm very interested in seeing too is VCU. To follow up Nick Lewis this past year, coming in this year, being able to get Sammy Jackson, being able to get Colin Ross, whom I believe is the best post upside defender in the class coming out of Spire Academy. And then you got Sammy Jackson, a 6'5" guy who's able to pass. The processing stuff is very intriguing there. VCU has a very intriguing class, especially talking about when you said going to schools that really prioritize you and doing all that. VCU's class, 2 top 75 rivals, top 75 guys, in the A10. Very unique, but also very interested to see how that plays out for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I do like Colin Ross a lot. I got to see him some in the summer too, and I think he has a very, very high ceiling. He has a very high ceiling, and if he can just, again, it's just like if he can pan out and they can get the most out of him, then you got someone that's an impact player. You got him for a pretty good deal. But as we're talking about people that have signed these school signing classes, let's talk about some of the guys a little bit about what schools can. I guess my question is, with the ones that aren't signed, that haven't signed yet, that are going to wait in the spring, what school could really move up the charts in y'all's rankings if they get X player? Like obviously Kentucky's not on there yet, but what does Kentucky look like if there's like Christian Collins and the Tyron Stokes, or if the NC State gets a Duran Rippey? Like what are some schools that can get impacted positively if they can get a signing?
Yeah, I think you just hit on one with NC State. They already have Cole Clower committed to top 30-ish level recruit, and then obviously they're heavily on Duran Rippey, who Jamie is extremely high on. I think Jamie, you might have him I think you might have him sixth in the class, excuse me. So if you get him first year in the Will Wade era, and this is kind of his first high school class that he's been able to kind of go after and recruit. Obviously, he's one of the more, I've said it before, he's one of the more feared head coaches on the recruiting trail. So I think NC State is one that immediately pops for me. We already have Duke as the number 1 ranked class. with Bryson Howard and Cam Williams committed, but they're heavily in the mix for Jordan Smith Jr., another 5-star prospect who's going to be at the Duke game tonight against Florida. So you think about a guy like him and what he could do to bolster that number 1 ranked class. And then even another guy, Brandon McCoy, another 5-star who's considering a school like Arkansas. Right now, we have them as the number 2nd overall recruiting class, and he could even push them into contention for number 1, depending on how things shake out with Duke and the rest of their targets.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm interested to see what.
Yeah, 2 schools that I'm looking at that would be fascinating, kind of moving forward. You look at Dylan Mingo, who cut his list to 4 this past week. What if Penn State's able to get Dylan Mingo in this class and what that's able to look like? And you also have Bruce Branch, who Joe put out a great intel piece on him this past week. Schools like Arizona and Duke and everything involved.
BYU.
What if BYU's to land a Bruce Branch as well? So Penn State looking at Dylan Mingo, Bruce Branch, BYU. If those schools are able to stay the course and get things done, what that could do for their recruiting rankings. Obviously, BYU getting AJ Debance in this past class, Yegor Damon the class before that, continuing that, and then Dylan Mingo's brother Caden this past year, who's one of the top freshmen in the Big Ten right now as well, continue to move that forward. So that'll be very interesting to see as you have the traditional powers, the John Calipari's at Arkansas, the Duke's Kentucky still involved with these schools. Will a school like a Penn State, will a school like a BYU be able to close the chapter and be able to get a 5-star on campus?
Oh, and another one that I'll mention quickly is Kansas. They have the number 5th ranked recruiting class right now, headlined by Tay Kenny, but they're also still in the mix for Tyron Stokes, the number 1 ranked player in the country, Bruce Branch, the 3rd, a top 5 player in the class. They'll probably only be able to take one of those 2, but if things move well for them, then they could be in contention for the number 1 ranked class as well.
Yeah, and I think when the guys we're talking about are like the needle movers, like Dylan Mingo, Deron Rippey, Bruce Branch, Brandon McCoy, Jordan Smith, like these Tyron Stokes, like these are needle movers. So depending on where they go, it's going to make a shift in those rankings for sure. And I'm interested to see with Jordan Smith and Duke. I think his name and Duke has been connected for some time. So just to see like that happens, like in my opinion, if Jordan Smith he commits to Duke. I don't know. There's a school, regardless of who they get, that trumps Duke in the rankings. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that would be hard to beat. That would give them 3 5-stars. I don't know if I could look quickly. That's probably going to be hard to compete with. I'm looking at least on our rankings. No other team has 2 5-stars committed, so that would give them 3. So that would definitely for sure give them the number 1 ranked class.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Jamie, let's get some weekend shout outs. We're in a giving mood. It's the holidays. What's a weekend shout, Jamie? I know you're on that road and you're watching some ball, so give us some weekend shout outs. Who are some players that kind of stood out to you?
Well, I don't know if you're going to talk about this as well. Were you going to talk about Tennessee Prep?
Yep, I am.
Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and bypass on that one then, because hell of a job by Mike Wright and his group there. I'll let you wax poetic on that. That's a massive win. So I was in Raleigh this past week. RJ Moore was a big standout of what I saw. Shout out to him for being able to come. The performance he was able to do didn't necessarily have his best stuff, but was still able to score. Finishing with 26 points and 11 rebounds in an overtime win over John Carroll. His game's really coming along. He's the son of Ricky Moore, former UConn point guard, national champion, team captain up at UConn, 6'6" shooting guard. Really, his scoring, he's really evolving into a scorer, really learning how to get to his spots, really learning how to score the basketball. Virginia, Utah, Rutgers, Wake Forest, Georgia, Georgia Tech, etc. have already offered him. I think he's 55 or so in the Rivals rankings for us. But shout out to RJ Moore and the continued progression that he's bringing to the game.
Yeah, for me, you could have touched on this, Jamie. I had no problem. We both could talk about it.
I might still.
Yeah. Tennessee Collegiate beating the number 1 ranked team at the time, Prolific Prep, at the Thanksgiving Hoop Fest was something that no one really expected other than the people that were Tennessee Collegiate Prep coaches, players, and fans. They were up for, I think, most, if not all, the game. Prolific Prep had a chance to tie it, or take the lead at the end, but they didn't. Mason Williams, son of Mo Williams, who committed to his dad Jackson State, but decommitted. He was super impressive, just the way he was getting his buckets. He was creating advantage in the half court. He's someone that we know that can really score the basketball. He played for SIP United in the summer, but just his deep range shooting, his mid range pull up game, just his overall confidence. I mean, when he came in there to really prove a point, and he made a loud statement with his play. He was very impressive, and now I think Texas Tech just offered him, and a lot of these high majors are really now coming in. I mean, he did himself a lot of good in that game, and then you had Josiah Sanders, a really athletic four man who just has pogo stick bounce that has some high level just finishes. And then there's a kid, I don't want to botch his first name, but Vital. I know he was originally from a school in Louisiana that moved out there. He's just a big man that was just protecting shots at the rim at a high level. But that Tennessee Collegiate team was tough. I mean, man, they just played tough as hell the whole game, even in the zone. You're not driving in that zone because they're bumping you. You're not cutting in that zone because they're bumping you. They're making you feel it. You get to that basket, the bigs are putting you to the ground. Just really impressed with their play. Shout out to them. I mean, people didn't think much of them when they got their deal, to be honest with you. And people are like, oh, they're just going to be another run-the-mill EYBL Scholastic team. But to come in here and beat the number one team in the country, shout out to them. Shout out to that staff. That's really important. That's a big time accomplishment to especially do in late November.
Well, this was a special matchup for me personally. I've known both these coaches, Ryan Bernardi and Mike Wright, for over a decade. They're both from my area. I've seen them 3 jobs ago, and the rise that they've been able to make to become the top level coaches they are. Mike Wright, who's at Tennessee Collegiate right now, formerly of Liberty Heights School, then Combine Academy. He's had guys come through: Silas Demery, Ezra Assar, Tawan Simpkins, Takai Simpkins, Trenton Flowers. The list
Jonas
goes
Adu?
on. Yeah, Jonas Adu. I mean, I think last year he had 22 guys possibly in his program that were Division I basketball players currently. And then Bernardi, obviously, what he's being able to build at Prolific, they still are probably the number one team in the country. I mean, looking at top to bottom what they have and everything, unbelievable accumulation of talent and everything. Shout out to Mike for getting it done, though, man. I mean, this is a rivalry. Ryan and Mike have known each other for a long time. I've seen Ryan and Mike, probably at 4 different schools battle back and forth, and they've always been the top coaches in their area. Now they're top coaches nationally. But I'm very proud of Mike for being able to finally get his flowers. He's somebody who's been doing it for a long time at a very under the radar type of performances. But for him to finally get this notoriety that he deserves is awesome to see. But shout out to Ryan too. Shout out to Mike. I've known both those guys, two good friends of mine. I've known them both for a long time, and they've had a rivalry going back and forth for years now. This being on the national level was awesome to see, and obviously a 1-point game, buzzer beater possibility, and all that stuff. That's exactly what it is that these two bring. They're two of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan. I mean, even though they did lose, shout out to him, just the position he's in and how successful he's been at Prolific Prep and how his climb into the coaching ranks. And we know we're going to see him coach at higher levels. It's like I've always said, it's the inevitable when we do see that. So definitely shout out to him. Shout out to the programs. It was a really, really high level game. I was excited that I got to be in Dallas and see that. Usually I'm always traveling to see high level games like that, but that was my gift. That was the gift that I got to go see a game and go see talent like that being in the city. But you know what? This is it. This is the episode, guys. Joe, you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, my closing thoughts. It's not high school, it's college related, but what Michigan did at Players Era, 3 games in 3 days, winning 1 game by 30. Excuse me, 1 game by the first game against San Diego State by 40. Their second game against number 21 ranked Auburn at the time by 30. And then in the championship game, against number 12 ranked Gonzaga at the time, beating them by 40. Their average margin of victory was 36.6 points. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I think I was listening to Matt Norlander's podcast, and I believe he said that it was the first time ever in college basketball that a team had beaten a ranked opponent back to back by 30 points or more. So absolutely incredible what they were able to do. I mean, they just absolutely dominated. I think all of us had a little bit of a concern when they went to overtime, I believe it was, with Wake Forest, and then kind of struggled a little bit against TCU, barely scraped by them. But I think they've righted the ship, so to speak, even though I don't even think it was sinking. But they figured some things out, and just wow, just super impressive with what they were able to do out in Vegas last week.
Yeah, and the 3 games in 3 days that is grueling. And for them to win by average over 30 points is even more impressive. This is why I think all of us can agree like Michigan's the #1 team in the country. I mean, they've proven it. Like that is because I had coaches call me, they're like, hey, that 3 games in 3 days is a beating. But the fact
Yeah,
that Michigan was able to do that and just do it so convincingly, I mean, I was amazed by that.
complete domination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
100%. So that's the episode, guys. Make sure that you tune into the Next Gen Pod. We're going to talk college, high school. We're going to talk some underclassmen stuff. 2027. Maybe we'll dibble and dabble on some 2028, but that's why it's called Next Gen. It's the next generation. We let you guys know who's coming up in the high school ranks. We let you guys know, hey, who's the top freshman for that's going on right now, because you know what, we saw him for a bunch of years in the high school ranks, and we give you guys more detailed analysis on what's going on. So please make sure you tune in. The Next Gen Pod is the big three. We're out.